Ever since Marvel Rivals has released, the same exact question has been asked across both the Rivals and Overwatch communities. Which game really has the hottest characters? Now I'm sure quite the myriad of y'all are screaming and creaming into your monitors right now expressing your opinions on that answer, but by the end of this video, there will be no room for political debates, as I'm going to be comparing every single Rivals hero to their Overwatch counterpart, and finally getting to the bottom of the bottle full of degeneracy. This is like Batman versus Superman, like Arthur Morgan versus John Marston, like Ricky Berwick versus Stephen Hawking. The mere idea of comparing these two to each other is causing so much blood to rush to my head, I think I'm gonna have a stroke. And I'm talking about both heads when I say that. In my tiny little cranium, I consider Widowmaker to be the OG Widow, due to her game coming out first and me just not knowing shit about Marvel. But that just isn't true, so I can't give her the edge that I want to give her. I guess this ranking really just comes down to whether you're a French fanatic necrophiliac or a cultured red hair lover. Now although I'd 100% pull a Coyote Peterson and take a bite from that Black Widow, she just doesn't surpass the nostalgia boner that is Widowmaker. So I'm gonna start this video off controversially and give Overwatch's Widow the first dub skit. Hawkeye vs Hanzo. Both of these smart fellas are quite the handsome bunch. They both have their own respective style that really ties into what they're going for in terms of their lore. For example, Hawkeye, being friends with Doctor Strange, chooses to wear a mask that way he can get used to the feeling before COVID hits, because Strange told him years in advance that the coronavirus would happen. And Hanzo, being a badass Shimada brother dragon lord, has dragon tattoos encompassing his whole body, while also having a sick ass beard that gets my taint tingling every time I see it. Overall though, I think I prefer Hanzo's more chilled out look over Hawkeye's LGBT purple. He's got dyed on all his armor. The only thing I like more about Hawkeye is that his nose isn't as big as the entire territory of Russia like Hanzo's is. Then again, his nose is canonically the reason he knew Genji was behind him in his cinematic, because he could smell his brother's dick cheese emerging from his scrotum. So that's 2 points for Overwatch thus far, but I have a feeling that's about to change. Hela vs Sojourn is an interesting one, because on one side you have the only bitch I've ever seen that looks like she calls the Cologne Cathedral home, and on the other side you have the only bitch on the planet that would be better off storing her brain in her thighs compared to her dome. They don't exactly look alike. The only reason they're being compared is because they both shoot balls at people, and I love balls. Although Soj is thicker than the average Noxylicious viewer's penis, you can't beat the goth attire Hela's rocking, and she's also packing a sleeper build below that dress, so they may both be blessed, but Hela's the one that has me most impressed. So now that you Marvel Rivals players aren't depressed, allow me to go 2 for 2 real quick and make this segment compressed. Luna Snow vs Lucio. I would literally staple my nuts to a postal package and ship myself across Ukraine's battlefield just for the chance of getting a piece of Luna Snow's ice ass. And no, I didn't just say ISIS. Now you may be saying right now, well what about Lucio, Noxy? Lucio's about as tall as the Pillsbury Doughboy, and although I can't be talking as I'm a bit of a short king myself, I still wish death to all Lucio players. In game, of course. So I'm sure every person watching this right now who has an IQ of 40 or above can agree with me when I place Luna in the winner category. I mean, she is the hottest Marvel Rivals hero after all. Magik vs JQ. This is like Deftones versus Pierce the Veil. How the fuck am I supposed to pick which one is better? I mean, the answer is Deftones, but now I'm stuck deciding which one of these bitches is the Deftones enjoyer. And I think the best bet here would be Magik. She's a bit smaller than JQ, and I like the blonde hair 15 times more than I like the blue hair. Also, her base outfit hits the goth vibe way harder. I'm pretty sure I can pair Junkrat to someone else later on, so she'll have a chance at redemption. But for now, I'm giving Magik the dub here. Squirrel Girl versus Junkrat. I think I would rather shit out live Bulgarian babies every time I drop a deuce, and be forced to pay child support than ever touch either one of these characters. In case you haven't picked it up, heroes that do nothing but spam terrorist bombs all game are my least favorite heroes to not only go up against, but to look at, cause they're always the ugliest creatures to grace this earth. These are like the 2 NPC students in school whose only purpose is to lower the air quality by smelling like the underside of a morgue patient's testicles, that way you have one more problem in your life at all times. They are only inconveniences. But I guess if I had to pick one of them, then I'd go with Squirrel Girl since she has a vagina. Venom vs Hammond. Now you see, this one is easy peasy sour cheesy, cause Venom's built like a freaky Shaquille O'Neal who loves throwing it back, and Hammond's built like a mouth sore. He's not exactly really appalling, he's just fucking annoying to look at. I would rather gouge my eyes out with an industrial ice cream scooper and use my eyeballs in the next international marble racing tournament than ever go through the torture of looking at Hammond sexually. You have to be one mucked up individual to get a hard on for a hamster, and lucky for me, I haven't brought a nail file to a zoo recently, so I'm giving Venom the win this time around. Venom versus Zarya. If you unironically prefer Zarya over the glorious Venom, then you're probably the type of guy to buy OnlyFans models bathwater every time a new sample drops and set up a tea party with your anime body pillow while you proceed to take shot after shot of said bathwater. Or you just really like Russian women, which if that's the case, I'm not gonna fault you for it. I will, however, fault you for going after Zarya's mid-ass excuse for a Russian baddie, cause she's not all that. Matter of fact, Venom's getting back-to-back dubs due to Zar's lack of all that. Cloak and Dagger versus Moira. So basically, would I rather risk an infection whenever I perform an injection in the conception area of the piss blasting hero, or bang a slim thick hot chick in a skin tight suit who also comes equipped with a free black dude? I hope those bars didn't make your meat protrude out too far, and if it did, I'm sorry. But speaking of sorry, Blizzard should be sorry for releasing such a despicable creation and making her so unbelievably brain dead to use that she's one of the most picked heroes in the game, forcing you to see her on the reg. I think I'd rather get pegged than go through the dismay of Cinchile being sprayed by Moira. Hey. Matter of fact, just turn me gay. C&D easily stomps Moira in this debate. Adam Warlock versus Mercy. This really just comes down to your gender preference, I'd say, cause both of these bitches are beyond our levels of attractiveness. Besides me, of course. But since I'm not even an ounce of homosexual, I'm gonna have to give Mercy this beloved dub. But I'd still be willing to give Adam some belly rubs if he's up for it. Human Torch versus Echo. So basically, would I rather disintegrate from a simple hug, or feel like I'm hugging one of those fancy motorized blowjob machines? Cause Echo looks exactly like one of those sucky wucky sussy spin cycle devices. And you know, I have always wanted to try one of those things, ever since my friend made me drive him to the sex shop so he could cop a $100 one on his 18th birthday. So I reckon I'll reconcile this debate and give Echo the W. Jeff versus Venture. Now, no lie, I think both of these individuals are some of the least attractive in their respective games. But if I had to go with one, then it'd have to be Venture, since they're actually a human. Even though Venture's teeth are just about as fucked up looking as Jeff's, at least a nibble on my nuts won't castrate me like Jeff's would. But what do you think? Be sure to let me know in the comments by stating your opinion in a very civil manner like you cuties always do. Venture wins, no diff. Moon Knight versus Ashe. These two are barely comparable. I just couldn't find a match for Moon Knight and figured since they both can do AoE damage from range, then they'd be a decent matchup. Even if Goon Knight's as handsome as y'all say he is under that mask, there's still not a chance in hell he's beating Ashe Cash. She is by far the hottest female hero in Overwatch, and Moon Knight just exists. This is like saying DJ Khaled is a better rapper than Eminem. It's impossible to disagree with this one. Ashe creams on Goon Knight's face in this fight. Psylocke versus Sombra. Unless you have the Asian persuasion or you're just really good at math, chances are you're picking Sombra. As much as I want to send Sarbomba plummeting towards every Sombra main's home, you can't deny those blokes got some taste, even if they're massive degenerates. Psylocke is extremely good looking though. This is one of the only rankings where it makes sense to prefer either or. It's just a Latina versus a Pag, and from a personal standpoint, I'm gonna have to give Sombra the edge here. Feel free to cyber molest me in the comments free of charge. Psylocke versus Genji. The only individuals choosing Genji in this scenario are homosexuals. That's just a fact. Psylocke is by far the superior option here. And Genji's not even bad looking. He's just in the minor leagues while Psylocke's been in the majors for decades. Easiest diff so far. Iron Fist versus Doomfist. The battle of the fisters. So basically, would I rather be severely annoyed by the fact that Iron Fist has been punching me 1,000 times for 1 damage the past 10 minutes, or get slammed into the wall with so much velocity by the Fister of Doom that I turn into a human paraglider? And well, I've always wanted to go paragliding, but YouTube doesn't make me enough money to afford it, so I'll take the free opportunity. Then again, I guess that'll have to wait, cause Iron Fist claps Doom in a mog off. Iron Fist versus Lucio. They both run on walls. That's why they're being compared. Compared to Iron Fist, Lucio looks like an Easter jelly bean, and lucky for him, I'm not this lady.
To make a long fucking story short, I put a whole bag of jelly beans up my ass.
So I'm just gonna keep this swift, no tailor, and rank them accordingly. Emma Frost versus JQ. Hardest decision of my life. On one hand, you got the lady who single-handedly causes my Xbox to overheat, with her NASA level jiggle physics, and on the other hand you got the most jacked, glorious muscle mommy in video game history. This may seem controversial, but when am I never? JQ takes the cake, and not only cake, but every other attraction aspect. I don't care if the tits are massive and the thighs are rapidly bagging. I'm a whore for muscular women on my video game screen. So I'm gonna have to give JQ the W here out of my own morals. But don't you worry, Frost lovers, because next up is Emma Frost versus Ramattra. I think this just depends on how lost in the sauce you are in terms of attraction. Because no way you're picking a fucking robot over a character who has a whole game engine built into her jiggle physics. Ram is a good looking robot, but that robot OC cannot be that good to pass up on getting slammed by Emma herself. Emma clears low diff. Doctor Strange versus Symmetra. There's not one instance out of half a trillion that I pick Strange over Sim. I feel bad because the doc is actually a handsome fella, but Sim is just interstellar, and I've always wanted to know what it feels like when Sim fires her beam into my bungus hole, so I'm gonna shimmy Sim into the Schwinn category. Hulk versus Diva. This is like that meme where the white girl is surrounded by the black guys. But this is a weird one because I think Hulk's hotter than Diva while they're in their first stage, but after they get demech'd, or in Hulk's case just like less angry I guess, then Diva easily sweeps Bruce in the OMG I have a boner scale. This is like comparing a famous e-girl to some 120-pound office worker who can maybe do half a push-up. I guarantee half of the Overwatch player base who still actively plays would voluntarily inhale Diva's farts if they were given the opportunity. And before you ask, no, I am not included in that half. Diva gets the win. Hulk versus Winston. So a hairless, angry, visceral buff Shrek, or an angry, vicious, banana deep-throating, intelligent, hairy monkey. Personally, I'd rather get raw dogged by the Hulk, because my death would come quicker that way. And I also wouldn't have to deal with hairballs being lodged inside of me during Bungus backshots. No idea what I'm talking about. Hulk wins. Black Panther versus Genji. This is the easiest by far. If I can't DP, I'm taking BP any day of the week. It's just not fair. He's got the physique, the aura, he's the superior fighter, and you can actually see his face on occasion. So unfortunately for the Caucasian, Black Panther clears him easily. And since I know a few of you slimy bastards are screaming into your Nokia flip phones right now saying, Genji's actually an Asian man, not a Caucasian. Well, that's not what I was referring to, Justin. I was referring to him being Asian and also having a human penis. Captain America versus Hazard. As much as I try my hardest to steer clear of glazing Cap, I think the general public can agree with me here when I state that Cap clears Hazard's ugly ass in a beauty competition. I'd rather get a splinter the size of the poop shovel sitting in my backyard lodged into my urethra on some sounding shit than even consider tapping Hazard on some freaky deaky shit. It's like Blizzard knew Hazard was an ugly piece of work, so they just tossed a six-pack on him and called it a day, cause that shit looks hella out of place. Cap is miles hotter than Hazard. Groot versus Mei. Not gonna lie, Groot walks around like that one autistic kid in your class who lacks a frontal lobe, and unless you have a severe splinter kink, I don't think Groot's winning this. And I'm not even a Mei Glazer either. I think she's the most overhyped geezer in the Overwatch group, but she's beating a tree any day of the year. Groot versus Zarya. Now I can't lie, Zarya is low-key built like a moderately more human-shaped Jabba the Hutt. Like she's got muscles and a better facial structure, but her overall physique still has the mass that really resembles Jabba. She's still stomping Groot though, cause I'd do anything to avoid fucking a redwood tree, even if Vin Diesel voices him. Sue Storm versus Brigitte. This is just an absolute tragedy. How is a man supposed to make such a heartbreaking choice? Choosing one of these fictional Gooner characters over the other feels like a war crime for my schlong. I'd rather get Chinese water tortured for weeks on end than come to a consensus on this wretched decision. But unfortunately for you Overwatch lovers, you're gonna have to share, cause I'm picking Brig every minute of my life that goes by. The ginger hair is just too overpowered, man. Sue Storm versus Sombra. I know I glazed Sombra a bit earlier in the video, but this is where the cream officially stops coming out. I already felt bad enough picking Burger over Sue. There's no way I'm picking Beans over her too. She got top 10 in my hottest character list for a reason. Dude, I just fucking destroyed my toe, oh my god. She's not a force to be reckoned with, unless it's her forcing her feet in my mouth. Without yapping about Sue's yams for hours on end, I'm just gonna wrap this up by handing her well-deserved W and move on. Magneto versus Sigma. Old man versus slightly less old man who's also a psych ward escapee. This is the battle of the balding ballsacks. I think Mag takes the rhubarb pie here though, since he's got that sick ass full chin of hair. Sigma Sigma's just a weird guy. Like, he gives off depressed uncle vibes that you only hang out with because you feel bad, I don't know. Mag's just the hotter option. Tony Stark versus Pharah. I honestly can't choose who to rank higher here, so I'm just gonna rank them based on who I think would be the best at recreating Pearl Harbor. And honestly, Pharah takes the cake. I mean, Iron Man has his nuke ultimate that could cause mass destruction, but Pharah's ult is just as bad, if not worse. Only reason I don't want to rank them based on attraction is because I don't know if Iron Man's face is based off of Downey Jr.'s or not. So until I get a confirmed answer, I'm giving Pharah the dub. Scarlet Witch versus Moira. Let me make this simple. Would you rather a woman constantly piss on you or shoot her monthly blood on you? And now that I've imprinted that revolting image into your head, I'm gonna kindly ask you to subscribe. I've said this since the first Rivals tier list. Wanda has the greatest facial structure in this game. It's like she hired Mexicans to perfectly craft and chisel her face into the most elegant form possible. Moira, on the other hand, looks like she got hit in the head by an anvil. So, Wanda stays true to her name and gets the W. Thor versus Bubba. The only reason I'm comparing these two is because they're both gods in their own sense. One's the god of thunder, and the other's just God himself. As much as I've made fun of Thor in the past for low-key being a fat ass, I have to admit that I was a bit harsh. He's not the smoothest plug in my butt, but he's definitely an underappreciated aspect of the cast. He still doesn't compare to Lord Bubba though. In the words of The Weeknd, nothing compares to the man who's shaped like a pear. Bubba bashes Thor in the beauty department. Storm versus Freya. The only reason I'm comparing these two is because both of their ultimates suck you involuntarily. But if I gotta pick which one I'd rather be sucked by, it has to be Storm. You know how you can set a specific character as your background in the main menu on Rivals? Well, Storm was my background of choice for the sheer reason that whenever you first launched the game, she would fly in and you could see her biddies jiggle in the wind. You think I'm joking, but that's where you're wrong. Do I need bitches? Yes. Did I bust my britches? Yes. Will you like the video? No. Storm secures the victory here. Star-Lord versus Tracer. The only thing that Star-Lord has on Tracer is that he does a couple front flips whenever he jumps, and that's pretty tubular. Overall, I don't think Quill's the dullest dildo in the cupboard. Tracer just beats him every which way, other than his annual salary rate. So old Tracer's getting my vote. Star-Lord versus Soldier 76. I'm just gonna come out and say it. Peter's a more handsome fella than Soldier is. In the idea of getting my yams bounced on by another muscular attractive man, I would take Star-Lord over Soldier every time. He's like Rick Grimes. You can't deny that the guy looks hella fly. My oh my. So allow me to glide this guy into the tier where people who earn the letter 14 letters after I reside, which is W by the way. The Punisher versus Soldier 76. This is like comparing Frank Castle to James Charles. If you were to give James Charles basic military training and if James Charles were to save kids instead of groom them. Frank easy diffs. The Punisher versus Reaper. This is like comparing Frank Castle to unemployed 21-year-olds who spend 15 hours a day on Overwatch custom games destroying their vocal cords, trying their best to impersonate Corpse Husband, all the while their 800-pound E-Kitten thunder fucks them through their headset. Frank easy diffs. The Punisher versus Bastion. This is like comparing Frank Castle to... Okay, this is getting old. But seriously, this is like comparing Frankie Boy to the metal Scooby-Doo lunchbox I used back in elementary school that would always cause my peanut butter and jizz sandwich to be hotter than the surface of your mom's asshole lips after she transformed into a jet ski like Jake the dog and propelled the vehicle forwards with her Bungus blaster acting as the blowhole. Frank easily diffs. Loki versus Iari. Now I'm not going to use the excuse that Loki can transgenderize himself into whatever phony jabroni he desires, because I don't like cheaters. So Iari easily steamrolls this little twerp, as she's an absolute queen who I would love to mash beans with. That was probably the worst statement I've ever made. But the answer still stands. Iari claps Loki. Lackey versus Lifeweaver. I'm beginning to think that the reason Loki's name starts with an L is due to the huge amount of L's this man takes every single video. Cause Lifeweaver is on another level when it comes to attraction. This is like comparing prime Natasha Bedingfield to an iron lung patient. This is like comparing Megan Fox to Bella Ramsey. This is like comparing Chris Hemsworth to Kurt Cobain after he self 200 pumped. Lifeweaver clears Loki's pussy ass any day. Mantis versus Ana. Extremely weird, awkward looking alien who makes me uncomfortable when I look at her for too long, versus a very old woman who may as well be wheelchair bound at this point. I'm gonna give Mantis the edge by default, since she doesn't look like my grandpa's shriveled up ballsack, but just know that I'm not too happy about this. Mantis versus Zenyatta. You know how when you're outside, okay, I know I lost about 75% of you with that, but stay with me. But how when you're outside, and out of absolutely nowhere you get hit with the stench of semen? Well, that's the smell that I presume to come off of Zenyatta based on his physique alone. At least with Mantis, I get the chance to smell an alien's load. So again, by default, I'm edging Mantis. I mean, giving Mantis the edge. Penny Parker versus Junkrat. Now, no lie, right before I was about to record this, a big ass spider started crawling on my leg, and I'm pretty sure I just demolished my microphone. So if you hear what sounds like a Geiger counter throughout the rest of this video, just know that I'm not currently in the basement of Chernobyl, and my microphone is probably just shitting the bed. Anyways, Penny's pretty much just an infant, so I'm not even gonna talk about her. Junkrat's getting the dub this round, but I still need to rant real quick. Junkrat's the type of guy to partake in cucky cleanup time. Motherfucker's a Harvard graduate of cuckology. Bro's the type of masterclass gooner to start jorking it when he overhears his parents creating his little brother. I've never felt so much anger for someone like I have for Junkrat, and I don't even know why. Like, I really don't mind playing against him that much in the game. He's just an unlikable looking character, and also unlickable. Spider-Man versus Genji. Now listen, I know a lot of you Marvel meat munchers are gonna want to castrate me for this take, but Spider-Man just feels like a more lame version of Genji, and he is nowhere near as attractive as a Shimada himself. Like, I get it, swinging around on webs at the speed of light is cool, right? But it gets to a point where the man is practically unhittable, and that's coming from a guy who's had multiple paragraph cheating accusations made against him. Genji is way more badass looking, and looks slightly less like a teenage boy compared to Parker. You Spooderman glazers gotta realize that bro is not gonna shoot his web in your face the way you want him to. Genji diffs with ease. Rocket versus Baptiste. Now, I'm not trying to insinuate any racial prejudice here when I compare these two. I just figured since they both do a lot of DPS as support heroes, they would be the best match. I could walk into a country gas station and buy Rocket's brother and wear him as a hat. Now, if we were in the early 1800s, I could probably do that with Baptiste too. But thankfully, slavery was patched in the 1865 update. I feel like I have a hair in my mouth just by looking at Rocket's nasty ass. Bap isn't the go-to hero for twinks for no reason. He's got a pretty physique, and I'm trying to see what's underneath. Bap claps Rocket's cheeks. I can't fucking grab him, bro. What the hell? There we go. Namor versus Torbjorn. Namor's hitting the same stance in this picture that Eminem hits in every photo he's ever been in. This is what Marshall Mathers would look like if Kim wasn't in the picture. Torbjorn, on the other hand, looks like the 15-year-old piece of gum that I stuck to the bottom of my middle school English class's desk. He's got wrinkles in places that not even Downey's wrinkle releaser could exterminate. Instead, Downey just needs to come out with a Downey releaser. That way Torbjorn can be released from the game, ridding players of the eye cancer that he provides to those who see him. Namor neutralizes Torb in this scenario. Namor versus Orisa. This is just Slim Shady versus a month-old toddler. And if you haven't heard Eminem's recently leaked Michael Jackson diss, he's known to not hold back on toddlers, so let's just say that. Also, Namor's spear would make for a way better dildo than Orisa's javelin, so for that reason alone he's catching the dub. Next up we got the fucking Thong himself versus Malga. No lie, I'd rather get pulverized and made into human cement than ever even consider crowning Malga as the winner for anything. Plus, the thing's muscles are more sculpted anyways, pun intended. So I unironically think he's more attractive. Fuck that juiced up Samoan. Maybe if he had a tribal tattoo and was bald, then I'd reconsider, but until then he's catching this L. Reinhardt, however, easily cures Patrick Star's house of his crown syndrome, cause even though Rein's a little less buff, he's way more tough, meaning I want it to be very rough when he mangles with my muff. Also, no one likes a copycat. The thing just blatantly stole Rein's ult and thought we wouldn't notice. Not cool, man. Rein shatters the thing's chances of a perfect win ratio. Wolverine versus Doomfist. Imagine getting a handy from Wolverine while talking about your day, and something you say pisses him off all of a sudden, and then he accidentally unleashes his claws and gives you a free vasectomy. That's all I can imagine when thinking about relations with Logan. He's definitely attractive, I just don't think he compares to the great Steve Harvey, so I'm giving Foomdis the Dubberooski here. Bucky Barnes versus Cole Cassidy. This is the most challenging comparison I've had to do yet. For those who are blind and haven't been watching the background gameplay, or you're just scrolling soggybiscuit.com on a separate tab, these two are my main heroes in their respective games, so there's naturally going to be some bias here. Now listen, I think Bucky's a very splendid looking guy, right? Like, I just watched that new Avengers movie not too long ago, and couldn't get my hands out of my pants whenever the Buckster was on the screen. But Cass is just on another level of male sexiness. There's only two things in this world that are hotter than Cassidy McCree: those who join my Discord server, and the god himself, Bubba. So Cass gets the dub, and speaking of Bubba, next up we got Bucky versus Bubba. If you thought Bucky versus Cass had tension, I suggest skipping this segment. For longtime fans of my immaculate content, you know how special Bubba is to me. He is my knight in shining armor. His glistening fat rolls provide endless comfort on days where I need it the most. Whenever I go through a traumatic experience, like for example banging your mother, Bubba's the man I go to unleash all of my thoughts. and my dragon. As much as I love Bucky, and as special as he is, he just can't compare to Bubba's sheer bodacious beauty. I would sacrifice my second-born child for a single Bubba titty pic. This is peak companionship. Bubba wins again. Now these last two matchups I couldn't find an exact match for, but first up we got Mr. Fantastic versus Kiriko. Now Reed's a decent looking fella, but Kiriko just wipes the floor with him. Her cheeks are too prominent to not be the dominant figure here, and Reed's just not for me. If I wanted a stretchy hero, I'd take Elastigirl, as she's clearly the superior expander, so Kiriko clears. And lastly we got Ultron versus Juno. Bro, Ultron is pretty much Zenyatta's level of ugliness. I didn't compare him to Zen because I needed someone for Juno, but I think we all know who wins here. I have yet to see a thumbnail that's not related directly to Ultron's release, where he is the prominent figure of the thumbnail. Juno, on the other hand, is a very popular figure among Overwatch thumbnails, and I wonder why. But yeah, Juno jelks Ultron's mid-ass. And that was the only Marvel Rivals vs Overwatch video that truly matters. Let me know which heroes you agree and disagree on in the comments, and be sure to blast the like button's pussy hole. So yeah, I love you schnookies, and I'll see y'all later.